MindsEye's new mission will feature evidence of the sabotage the studio has faced, CEO claims. Okay, I'll bite. What is this? Part 1. Everywhere. Welcome to the MindsEye timeline. You may very well have missed it, but MindsEye is a video game released in 2025, published by IO Interactive of Hitman fame, and created by Build a Rocket Boy, a new studio founded by one Leslie Benzies, formerly of Rockstar Games. Benzies was at Rockstar from the days when they were still called DMA Design. He worked as lead programmer on Space Station Silicon Valley, and then later as a producer on the Grand Theft Auto games from GTA 3 all the way to GTA 5, Manhunt 1 and 2, and Grand Theft Auto Online. He also worked as lead designer on the first Red Dead Redemption, and as president of Rockstar North, aka the GTA studio. He was one of the people involved in the hot coffee controversy in GTA San Andreas, specifically one of the voices pushing to keep the controversial cut sex minigame in the final release. Quoting from the book Jacked, The Outlaw Story of Grand Theft Auto, "Poring over Benzies' menu of possible changes felt bad enough to Sam Houser. Even worse was Benzies' implication that they had given up their fight. This stuff was so cool," Benzies wrote to Sam. "We're not really pushing boundaries without it." In other words, Benzies was one of the people most embedded and influential in Rockstar and their culture from the earliest days of the company and the 3D Grand Theft Auto games as a series. In 2014, Leslie Benzies began a long sabbatical from Rockstar, which he later alleged he was convinced to take so he could be forced out of the company. He would officially leave Rockstar in 2016 and ended up suing the company for unpaid royalties to the tune of $150 million. You might remember some of this if you're really into gaming news, because the court case ended up giving us a rare peek behind the curtain at how Rockstar works, including the semi-viral quote from an email with Sam Houser, "I need the Benz!"
The catchphrase of the season. Let's take it from the top.
It's "I need the Benz" right there. That's I'm gonna start. You guys are. Every email I send is now gonna have that in there. Yeah, the Houser brothers. They're kind of the heads of Rockstar.
Right. Kind of seen as like the creative force behind.
Yeah, that they had kind of taken the lead on Red Dead Redemption, and that Leslie Benzies, as the head of Rockstar North, was not on this project. Because it was done out of Rockstar San Diego, Angel Studios, the former Angel Studios.
Yep.
And that at some point in an October 2009 email from Sam Houser to Leslie Benzies, kind of urgently reaching out, as Sinclair puts it, that the game kind of was in a bad spot and they needed the Benz to come in and clean it up. Please help me / us get RDR into shape. I'm a jabbering wreck right now. I need the Benz.
Some of his claims against Rockstar would eventually be dropped, while others ended in a settlement in 2019. As this was unfolding, Benzies started a new studio in 2017 called Royal Circus Games, soon rebranded to its current name, Build a Rocket Boy, after Rockstar accused the company of trying to cause brand confusion with the abbreviation RCG being too similar to Rockstar's abbreviation RSG. Build a Rocket Boy, or BARB, would not start small. Their first project was to be everywhere. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Everywhere was not just to be a game, it was to be a platform in its own right. A shared MMO-like space where users could use Everywhere's content creation tools to make their own games. The next Grand Theft Auto could exist within Everywhere, but so could the next World of Warcraft, or Call of Duty, or whatever else the players had the ambition to create. User-generated content. UGC. That pitch sounds familiar these days. Roblox, Fortnite, Dreams, even Genshin Impact have made this same pitch and or pivot towards becoming not just games, but platforms for users to create their own games to, let's say, mixed results. In 2017, though, while Everywhere still wouldn't have been the first game to do this, it was a much more novel idea than it seems now. Everywhere would end up running into some issues during development. First, the game began development in 2017 on the Amazon Lumberyard engine before switching to Unreal Engine in 2020. There was also, of course, the old reliable issue that derailed video games in the first half of this decade, COVID-19, during which all of the employees at Barb had to work from home. In August of 2022, a trailer would finally be shown for Everywhere, showing a brief glimpse of a handful of different examples of games built with Everyware's tools, and crucially, it ended with a tease for a major AAA-styled, narrative-focused game that would exist within Everywhere as a major selling point. This is what we would later come to refer to as MindsEye. In 2023, a teaser focused strictly on MindsEye would be released, which is where we would first get a glimpse of gameplay, a car chase, as well as hear the term MindsEye, though the game was still being pitched as a component of Everywhere at the time. MindsEye is now being referred to as an episodic game, which will apparently release more content over time. 2023 also brought us the first full trailer for Everywhere. This version of the pitch for Everywhere is interesting because it starts to sound a lot less like a Roblox or Fortnite user-generated content platform, and a lot more like one of the many metaverses being pitched around the time, though I'm not sure whether to chalk that up to an actual desire to build the metaverse or just capitalizing on the trend.
This is Everywhere. A world where we can transform it, improve it, make it our own. We are all architects of this new world, where our imagination is our only limit, and where our creations can come to life. Come with me and build what's never been built. Our reality. Our friends. Your imagination. Time for a new world. Let's build it together.
In late 2023, a closed alpha began for Everywhere. I think. I can find a few scattered Reddit posts mentioning being accepted for the alpha, but no information about it outside of that. In February of 2024, Barb began layoffs, affecting people within the publishing, QA, and art departments. In June, a public beta launched for Everywhere called the Builders Beta. This one I can find a few screenshots of. It's honestly a little hard to tell what the reception to this beta was, because it's hard to find people talking about it at all. r/Everywhere is not and was not exactly thriving. From what comments I can find, it doesn't seem like Everywhere is a complete disaster, but it's also a very long way from being able to truly compete with other UGC-based games. At this point, Fortnite had already released its own content creation tools and is eating Everywhere's lunch. In August of 2024, Barb starts showing off the Founders Pack for Everywhere. If you bought one of these, please let me know in the comments if you've ever received anything for that purchase, because I don't think Everywhere has been publicly playable at any point since these were sold. In October of 2024, MindsEye resurfaced and was finally split from Everywhere as its own separate game, being published by IO Interactive, the first game being featured in their new IO Interactive Partners program. The content creation tool for Everywhere, called Arcadia, would now be a sort of level editor in MindsEye. In December of 2024, perhaps the most important change to Build a Rocket Boy overall occurs. Build a Rocket Boy buys PlayFusion, a company that does something with AI, I'm not clear. At PlayFusion, we make things. Physical, digital, mystical, magical. We design experiences. On-screen, off-screen, in between. We connect things. Toys, digital, television, trans everything.
Working. Hammers. Sweating. Power. Circuits. Review. Verify. Bonus? Under.
And as a part of that deal, Mark Gerhard, who was once the CEO of Jagex, the RuneScape guys, before starting PlayFusion, becomes co-CEO of the company along with Leslie Benzies. Fast forward to May of 2025, with MindsEye now locked to a June 10th release date. As buzz around the game is underwhelming and negative, Mark Gerhard is asked in the MindsEye official Discord whether the negative buzz might be astroturfed, paid for by some outside force. He responded, quote, 100%, then, doesn't take much to guess who, followed by a crying, smiling, laughing emoji. Finally, I just said that there is a concerted effort by some people that don't want to see Leslie or Build a Rocket Boy to be successful that are making a concerted effort to trash the game and the studio. It's pretty easy to see the bots and the repeated replies to any content that we put out. Always a good sign when the CEO is publicly alleging there's a paid-for hate campaign before the game is even out. June 6th, 2025, just 4 days before MindsEye releases, we get one more trailer for the game, which ends with the stinger teasing a crossover mission featuring Agent 47 from the Hitman franchise. June 7th, 2025, Assistant Director Adam Whiting does an interview with Video Games Chronicle where he assures fans of everywhere that the project is still happening and they're just getting MindsEye out the door first. As far as I could find, this is the last time anyone at Build a Rocket Boy officially mentions everywhere. All of that is how we get to Part 2, MindsEye. MindsEye, and to some extent everywhere, has been living in the shadow of Grand Theft Auto every step of the way. Most interviews about the two games mention GTA in some way, and before release, fans were really hoping that MindsEye would be a direct GTA competitor. If you haven't played MindsEye, which you probably haven't, and you absolutely shouldn't, and you just look at the trailers of the game, it looks like Grand Theft Auto. There are car chases and shootouts in a large recreation of a real-world city, this time Las Vegas, renamed to Red Rock City, like how Los Angeles became Los Santos, or New York became Liberty City in GTA. I have played MindsEye, and the best way I can describe it is, imagine you're playing a Grand Theft Auto game, but just the missions. MindsEye does not have a free roam mode, and if you played the game at launch, you might be jumping to tell me that it actually does, you just have to beat the game first, but no, they actually patched it out at some point. There is currently, when I'm writing this in May of 2026, no free roam mode in MindsEye at all. It is just the missions, and the user-generated content made using the Arcadia tools. Very occasionally, you'll see a weird rift that the game refers to as side content, and if you enter the rift, you'll end up in a short mission made by Barb using Arcadia, but I think I only encountered 2 of those in the entire game, and that really is all the side content in the entire game. So yeah, a Grand Theft Auto game, but it's all missions. That is a premise for a game. Let's play devil's advocate for a second. The missions are not why most people come to Grand Theft Auto, but there is a lot of effort put into them, and many of them are iconic and fun. A short version of a GTA game with high-quality missions, the oops all set pieces version of a GTA game, that's something. I would probably still rather play a proper Grand Theft Auto game, but it is certainly an idea. Really, it's not that far off of something like LA Noire, which famously lets you skip all the driving and missions and almost all of the free roam side content to just play the story content, and I really like LA Noire, so maybe there's something to this idea if the gameplay and missions was really fun and the missions themselves were memorable. Not the case with MindsEye. This is not to say MindsEye is not an open world game. It actually is. During many missions, there's nothing forcing you to run to the objective, and you can just completely leave it and explore the city to your heart's content. Sometimes the city is populated when you do this, and sometimes it's completely desolate. One of my favorite moments in MindsEye was towards the end of the game when the city has fallen under martial law and is supposed to be swarming with soldiers and police on every corner. You're supposed to have a high-speed chase across town, As I often do in Grand Theft Auto games, I didn't follow the line drawn on the minimap towards the marker. I found my own path through the city after my car exploded during a shootout. I soon realized that the mission had in fact only placed roadblocks and enemy units on that line being drawn on the minimap, and the entire rest of the map was devoid of anything. No cars to replace my own, no enemy units, not even generic NPCs. Nothing. Red Rock City was completely devoid of any life, any incident, and so I slowly crossed the city on foot. This weird liminal experience of exploring an immaculately well-rendered city devoid of any life or incident. Here are a couple more fun facts about MindsEye for you. First, you cannot jack cars in MindsEye. You have your car, and that's the car you use for 90% of the game. Sometimes, rarely, there are missions where you can replace your car by finding another unlocked car parked somewhere, but you can't steal most cars sitting on the road or any cars that are already driving. Second, there is no map in MindsEye. There's a mini-map, but there's no full map of Red Rock City available in the game. If you know MindsEye for anything, you know it for being a legendarily bad game. That's true. MindsEye is a bad game, and you shouldn't play it, but it's not bad in a fun or funny way. I've seen MindsEye directly compared to Gollum a lot, and here's the thing. Gollum is a much worse game than MindsEye, and at the same time, a much more interesting game than MindsEye. At launch, MindsEye was a technical disaster. The game basically didn't work on a fundamental level. You can find some amazing screenshots of glitches people encountered that remind me of the faceless NPCs of Assassin's Creed Unity at launch. This was certainly a Cyberpunk 1.0 level disaster technically at launch. Honestly, probably even worse than that. I played this game about 10 months after launch, and credit where it's due, I didn't encounter the worst bugs which people showed off at launch. I did still have some of the worst lighting issues I've ever seen in a game. Many areas of the game just look like some sort of nightmarish disco floor. The ghosting when driving your car is so severe it's actually kind of mesmerizing, and the cutscenes would sometimes arbitrarily run at a frame rate, let's say. But I've played buggy games before. I've loved buggy games before. I played launch-era Fallout New Vegas without any fan patches or anything, and it immediately became one of my favorite games of all time. The bugs are a problem. I'm not trying to cut Barb slack for selling a game that didn't work. That sucks. But MindsEye has a deeper problem than all of that. It's really boring. The shooting in MindsEye is competent. It's a functional shooter. I have shot worse feeling guns in games. The driving is okay. It's not especially good, but I have played games with cars that control worse. The enemy variety is pretty bad, and the AI is pretty bad, but neither are comically so. The enemies will run straight into your bullets, but it's not funny bad AI in the way something like, I don't know, Aliens Colonial Marines was. The story is completely forgettable. You've seen it before. It's an ancient alien story that you'll already have intuited 85% of by the time the opening cutscene is done playing. And while the actors are genuinely giving it their all in this game, and I think they deserve some credit for that, not a single character in this game is likable or interesting. Not a single one. There is exactly one funny moment in MindsEye, which I want to call out because it did manage to make me smile.
God damn it, Hunter, do something! This door's not gonna hold much longer! Come on, Lily, please! Wake up! Is she? It's your Sabotage! Simpatico! Oh no. No! Stop! No!
It might sound like I'm slightly defending MindsEye here, but I'm not. What I'm actually saying is that MindsEye might be better if it was just a little bit worse. Gollum is absolutely, undoubtedly a worse game than MindsEye, but Gollum captured the gaming audience's heart and imagination the year it came out. It was so strange on every possible axis that it demanded you pay attention to it. Not play it, but watch other people who have played it, usually for money, clown on it. interest in even clowning on MindsEye fell off within a few weeks, at least if you weren't paying attention to what Leslie Benzies and Mark Gerhard were saying at the time. What drives me absolutely crazy about MindsEye, though, what made me want to make this video, is that there is actually some humanity to MindsEye. There is some genuine effort and artistic talent on display that should be pointed out in this game, and it's all in the environmental design, which the game proceeds to do absolutely nothing with. The reason I was interested in playing it, even after hearing so many negative things about it, was because of the setting. I'm a Las Vegas local. I've lived in Vegas for nearly 20 years, and I have a lot of affection for this weird town. I love seeing Las Vegas represented in video games. Fallout New Vegas, San Andreas, Horizon Forbidden West, it is one of my favorite things a video game can do. When I saw I could get MindsEye for like $20 a few months ago, it was worth that to me just to see what they did with the city. Even if it was a bad depiction of Las Vegas, it was going to be worth $20 to me just to see that. Here's the thing. MindsEye has one of the best depictions of Las Vegas I've ever seen in a game. MindsEye does exactly one thing extremely well. Its depiction of Las Vegas is incredible. That currency is not going to spend with most players, but I still want to call it out because someone at Build-A-Rocket Boy, probably a lot of someones, did their homework and really did a great job building this simulacrum of a place very close to my heart. Like, okay, there's the obvious stuff which everyone who knows even a little bit about Las Vegas can catch, the major landmarks. Some of the landmarks in this are relatively new to the Vegas skyline, like the Sphere, which I'm pretty sure has only appeared in one other game prior to this, that being Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's a cute joke with the game's version of the Wynn Casino and its second tower Encore. If you don't know, the Wynn Casino is named after casino magnate and Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 actor Steve Wynn, and in MindsEye, the towers are instead labeled Mine and Again, which is a subtle, easy-to-miss detail that made me smile. The game also has pretty on-point representations of landmarks like Fremont Street and the huge TV screen covering it, the high roller Ferris wheel, and so on. Beyond that, though, what really impressed me are the little observations and representations of Las Vegas's smaller details and landmarks. One thing I found very funny is that it feels like, if you pay attention, every third storefront in the game is some sort of egg restaurant. That's true! I live in Vegas, and we do have a lot of egg restaurants here. The Cracked Egg, the Broken Yolk, Egg Slut, the Egg and I, Eggworks. I swear all of these are real, and that's just scratching the surface. That's the kind of weird detail you don't get from people who are half-assing their world design. There are a lot of locations in this, little streets and shopping centers, that I recognized while playing the game. If you've never had that experience, playing a video game and suddenly realizing during your high-speed car chase that you used to drive past that strip mall you just passed every day on your way to class, it is hard for me to explain how magical it really is. If any of the people who worked on the game, and specifically these details in world design, happen to see this video, I want you to know that you really did do an amazing job with this aspect of the game. I know MindsEye did not get much in the way of positive attention on release, but I really appreciated the work you put into this. The flip side of this, the part that frustrates me, is again, the game does nothing with this immaculately well-realized version of Las Vegas. Really, nothing. Most of the game's missions will take you to warehouses, garages, dilapidated ruins in the middle of the desert, and so on. Instead of spectacular shootouts on Fremont Street or inside of the Sphere, instead of casino heists and thrilling car chases down the Strip, you're shooting robots out in the desert for almost the entire game. There's one mission where you go to an abandoned penthouse. That's it. You don't visit a single casino in the entire game, and in fact, perhaps MindsEye's most bizarre choice, in this dystopian cyberpunk future, the government has passed the ominously titled Families First Act, which bans, quote, all forms of moral depravity, including gambling. That is, let's be clear, a stellar premise for a Grand Theft Auto-styled game set in Las Vegas. A dystopian future where the entire city's economy collapsed overnight because of a federal ban on gambling and other forms of vice. That story practically writes itself. A once prosperous tourist town which has now fallen to ruin, ridden with crime, gang violence, and poverty, now that all of the money backing the casinos has pulled out and left a large population unemployed. Now you can play an up-and-coming gangster or criminal who sees this practically war-torn city as an opportunity to make lots and lots of money selling drugs, alcohol, and sex outside of the law. Heck, throw in an underground casino management minigame. Maybe the mob moves back into town and you have to work for them or fight against them or both. I would play the absolute hell out of that game. That sounds incredible. That is not the story of MindsEye. MindsEye makes it clear that while other cities that relied entirely on gambling like Atlantic City fell into complete ruin, Red Rock City had already branded itself as an entertainment destination, and so very little changed there. Plus, fake Elon Musk, Marco Silva, opened a huge facility for building cars, drones, and rockets just outside of town. So Red Rock City is doing fine. We don't need gambling. We don't need strippers. Apparently alcohol doesn't count as moral depravity, so we'll be fine, guys. Prohibition 2 the Squeakwell is going to be great for the economy. Don't even sweat it. Elon is going to save us, you guys. It's going to be great. Is this propaganda? It's worth considering. I don't know whether to call it conservative propaganda or liberal propaganda, because both sides have certainly been excited to jump on the family values, think of the children bandwagon at different points, but introducing something called the family's first act as a plot point, and then having it be perfectly neutral actually, it's a choice. Really though, I don't think MindsEye has a coherent political statement it's trying to make. It's not that serious. Even the fake Elon stuff, Marco Silva much more closely resembles the 2015 era Elon Musk on The Simpsons, liberal darling inventor who makes electric cars public perception of Elon than he does his current public persona. Which is a weird choice for a game released in 2025, but it just adds to the feeling that MindsEye isn't actually saying anything, it's just gesturing wildly as though it were. So, I guess all of that is to say, MindsEye isn't very good. It's not a crime against humanity, but unless you very specifically want to see their fake version of Las Vegas, there's really nothing here for you that you couldn't get in a better form in 100 other better games. 4 out of 10. Which is almost exactly how the game reviewed on average with critics, currently sitting at a 39 on Metacritic, which seems just about right to me. Before you say, well, reviews don't matter, game critics can't be trusted. Fair enough, the user scores are actually significantly lower on Metacritic, sitting at a 2.6, and the English language Steam reviews for MindsEye, which are only available for people who have actually bought the game, are sitting at only 52% positive. Not much better. How did Leslie Benzies take this? Let's go back to our timeline. June 12th, 2025, 2 days after launch, Barb releases an official statement about the rough launch, saying that they were, quote, heartbroken that not every player was able to experience the game as we intended. They promised to fix the game. Great. June 23rd, 2025. Build a Rocket Boy begins mass layoff proceedings for employees. We don't know exactly how many people were laid off, but we know it was at least 100 out of around 500 total employees, including 300 in the UK and 200 outside of it. Not good, but also not unusual even for a successful game, let alone a big budget flop like MindsEye. This sucks, but it's normal. That is where the story stops being normal. July 3rd, 2025. Leslie Benzies addresses the staff of Build a Rocket Boy and reportedly blames the disastrous launch of the game on internal and external saboteurs. This is the other thing that you might know about MindsEye. Leslie Benzies and later Barb CEO Mark Gerhard insist that the technical issues at launch were not the fault of themselves or the majority of Barb employees, but in fact caused by straight-up corporate espionage. A transcript of the staff meeting where he alleges this is later verified by the BBC. Quoting from Eurogamer's Ed Nightingale here, Benzies said negativity towards the game was uncalled for, and alleged internal and external forces scuppered the game's launch. As such, saboteurs within the company would be rooted out. a message that came just a week after workers were told of redundancies at the company. Staff tell a different story of why the game flopped. Leslie never decided what game he wanted to make, said one former employee named Jamie. There was no coherent direction. In September, IO Interactive were asked about the launch, publishing MindsEye, and plans for the IOI Partners program moving forward. Quote, IO Interactive will publish our own games internally. IOI Partners? That remains to be seen. October 2025, union members begin to sue Barb, alleging mishandling of the layoffs. This is accompanied by an open letter from 93 current and former Barb employees, which also decries the crunch that the employees faced in the lead-up to launch. February 2026, Leslie Benzies goes on an extended sabbatical from Build a Rocket Boy, likely because of some stuff we're going to talk about later that you might have heard of, which also happened around that time. Put a pin in it. March 5th, 2026, Build a Rocket Boy announces more layoffs, and CEO Mark Gerhard posts a statement to LinkedIn about the layoffs and the illegal activity which he alleges led to the failed launch. Quote, as leaders, we take responsibility for the outcomes of our projects and the decisions that follow. At the same time, the launch period was affected by factors beyond normal operational challenges and a competitive environment. Over the past months, we have been working with external partners and legal advisors to investigate the criminal activity that took place around our launch. That work has taken far longer than expected, but it has now resulted in overwhelming evidence of organized espionage and corporate sabotage affecting MindsEye. Because this matter is moving towards prosecution, we cannot share the full details publicly yet. March 17th, 2026. IO Interactive and Build a Rocket Boy go their separate ways. Future releases for MindsEye will be self-published, and the Hitman crossover DLC is cancelled. March 31st, 2026. It is announced that an upcoming mission, free DLC for MindsEye, will include evidence that the game was sabotaged. April 21st, 2026. More legal action is taken against Build a Rocket Boy, this time over privacy violations, as some union members allege leadership installed surveillance software on employee hardware called Terramind. Terramind, by the way, is a way better name for an evil techno-dystopian implant than MindsEye is. Finally, on April 28th, 2026, MindsEye's free DLC mission Blacklisted was officially released. Part 3. Blacklisted. Blacklisted is very clearly the Hitman crossover DLC, quickly reskinned to feature a new character instead of Agent 47, Julia Black. Everything about this DLC, from the UI to the objectives to some of the absurd moments within it, is very clearly invoking the Hitman games. You even get a mission briefing at the start, like in the Hitman games. During the mission, like in a Hitman game, you are hearing narration from Julia's handler, HQ, and even conversations between the two of them. Getting this out of the way, I don't like accusing people of using AI without hard evidence, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say, the viewer should make up their own mind when they hear HQ talk.
Hello again, Julia. Meridian has a new mission for you. Your destination today is Red Rock City, party capital of the nation, also the weapons tech headquarters, earning it the nickname Silicon Death Valley.
Fans of my channel will know that I quite like the Hitman games. There's something like 15 hours of content on this channel where I talk about the World of Assassination trilogy, and I'm only halfway through them at this point. I know it's been forever since the last episode. I'm sorry, that series isn't dead, I promise. Between the Vegas setting and the Hitman DLC, I feel weirdly targeted by MindsEye. I'm probably the person on Earth who is the most predisposed to like this game. In fact, as of writing, according to the leaderboard, I might be the third best player of MindsEye's Blacklisted DLC in the world. I say might because I'm not sure if these leaderboards are tracked between platforms or not. They might only be the PC ones, and admittedly, based on where I placed with the mediocre score I got in my first playthrough of the DLC, I think only a few dozen people have played Blacklisted in the world. When you launch Blacklisted, the first thing you're greeted with is a message informing you that the game will not save during the mission. So if you exit during gameplay, you'll have to start it from the beginning. This is a weird, amateurish choice that is immediately off-putting, but Blacklisted is also not that long, and it does still checkpoint, so you don't have to start from the beginning if you die, so it's not really that big of a deal. Honestly, without the message on startup, I doubt many people would have noticed. Blacklisted plays like a very mediocre version of a Hitman mission. That means, by default, it is far and away the best mission in MindsEye, by a lot. I'm going to say some kind things about Blacklisted here. That's because I'm grading on the MindsEye curve, not the video game curve. When I say I had some fun with Blacklisted, does that mean you should go buy MindsEye to play Blacklisted? You're funny. No. But this is a 6 out of 10 mission and a 4 out of 10 game, and that difference is night and day. One of the things that makes Blacklisted much more enjoyable than the main game is that it actually takes advantage of the setting. Sure, you still go to one warehouse, but aside from that, you're spending time on the Strip, in these, well, they're not casinos, but casinos and other major landmarks. The first thing you do in this mission is drive to the top of a parking garage adjacent to fake Fremont Street, snipe a suspiciously familiar-looking bald man, which makes me wonder if there might be some hard feelings about Barb not being allowed to use 47's likeness anymore, although this could also just be a holdover from the Hitman games where roughly 40% of the population are tall bald men, and then take a zipline down from where you're sniping straight down Fremont, a reference to a real zipline you can ride on the real Fremont Street. This is cooler than anything that happens in the entirety of MindsEye, and makes better use of this beautifully well-realized version of Las Vegas than the entire 10-hour campaign of the main game does. There are also a couple cute little missable interactions in this mission which feel straight out of a Hitman game. At the start of the mission, you park Julia's extremely nice car next to a homeless person who comments that it's a nice ride. If you walk up to him, there's actually a prompt to give him the car, since it's just a mission asset and she doesn't need it anymore.
Nice ride, miss.
Here, car's yours.
A wildfire. You're too kind. Thank you.
There's also some fun dialogue you can eavesdrop on with some cops later in the mission who are trying to talk a guy high out of his mind off of a billboard he climbed up onto, where he says things like, "I am the Lunar Lord." Cute. And that's it. Those are the fun little interactions I enjoyed in this mission. Okay, what's actually going on in this mission? Let's do the rundown. Consider this a mini episode of my Hitman series, I guess. There are 2 targets, technically 3 because you have to kill Fake 47 to steal his limo, involved in an arms deal going down. The main target is a drug dealer who's selling a new drug that's going to cause an addiction epidemic if he's allowed to continue. And the secondary target is a woman who is selling him high-tech militarized drones he'll use to smuggle drugs across the country and world. You steal Fake 47's limo and use it to pick up a lieutenant working for the arms dealer so he can lead you to the warehouse where they're storing the drones. This is a stealth sequence where you can get intel that will help you gain access to the arms dealer. Eventually, you find out that the arms dealer is hosting a birthday party for her daughter, where a famous DJ will be performing, one who wears a mask at all times. At this point, there's a small branch where you're given the option of 2 nearby police incidents where you can steal a cop uniform and car. One is a shootout happening at a nearby trailer park where you can easily take out one of the cops while everyone is distracted. The other, in my opinion, more interesting and Hitman feeling, is the drug-induced meltdown I mentioned earlier, where you can steal some fireworks from a nearby car and set them off in a secluded area to lure one of the cops away. Once you have the uniform and cop car, you go to arrest the DJ for driving under the influence, in one of the worst car chases I've ever seen in a video game. This is completely predetermined. You cannot stop the DJ's car no matter what you do. You can bash it, shoot it, bump it. It's a brick wall, racing down a predetermined path, and you can't even steer it off course. In fact, if you already know where the car is going because you've, say, played this mission 4 times already, you can stay ahead of him on his route, and he'll just keep following it. Awful, awful stuff. Eventually, the DJ crashes, you take him down and take his helmet, then go to the daughter's birthday party at the fake Luxor. This gives you Blacklisted's version of a classic Hitman moment, where Agent 47 sneaks his way into a place he obviously shouldn't be. It seems like people are going to clock him as an imposter, but then they don't. This one is admittedly extra ridiculous because the famous DJ you've taken the place of is, you know, a man, and Julia is decidedly not. There's a cutscene where it seems like the daughter realizes you're not the DJ, but then you realize she's actually just being a diva. It's dumb. I actually like that bit, though. There's nothing more Hitman in spirit than no one being able to recognize that 47 is very obviously not who he's pretending to be. Then you sneak into the back rooms of the party, steal a keycard, and get the arms dealer all alone, where you can quietly take her out and steal her clothes so you can take her place at the meeting. You drive to another not casino where the deal is happening at a party being hosted by the drug dealer, and this is the other point where the mission branches slightly, giving you a little open sandbox to sneak around and look for ways to take the target out. There are 4 possible endings, really different methods of taking the target out. First, you can do things loud and dumb. There's an assault rifle available in one of the back rooms. You can just shoot your way through the guards and take the target out before he evacuates. Second, you can sneak into the target's bedroom, unlock a safe containing the dangerous drug he's pushing, and then spike his champagne in the adjacent office with it. Then you attend the meeting normally, he'll drink the champagne, and while giving a speech at the party celebrating the deal, he'll start tripping out and will throw himself off the roof. Third, the stealth kill approach. Sneak into the office, but then leave onto the patio area, where you can find the target alone, kill him silently, and get out before anyone realizes what's happened. Finally, the fourth and most involved option. Back in the warehouse from earlier, there's a really easy to miss piece of intel, which you can only obtain by tailing the guy who you drove there. If you eavesdrop on him, you'll find out that the arms dealer secretly has some insurance in case things at the meeting go wrong. There's a code which, when fed to the drones, will make them turn on the drug dealer and his guards, killing everyone at the party if he tries to pull anything. By breaking into a safe at the warehouse, you can get the code, then enter it at the party. Then, when the dealer starts giving his speech, the same one where he throws himself off the roof in a different opportunity, the drone will open fire and take him out. Then you leave, you get your score, and that's MindsEye Blacklisted. It's a fine little 6 out of 10. I had some fun with it. What was that about evidence of corporate espionage? Part 4. Sabotage. Throughout the rundown, you may have noticed I wasn't really playing you much of the dialogue in the mission, and that's because that's where what Mark Gerhardt was referring to as evidence comes into play. I regret to inform you that no, you're not digging through Barb internal company documents, or server logs, or leaked emails, or anything that might actually be considered evidence in this DLC. What Gerhardt was referring to as evidence is really just more allegations. This DLC is a barely disguised way for the higher-ups who believe the game was sabotaged to present their case in the court of public opinion, and the whole "we're releasing evidence in this mission" thing was just a marketing stunt. Given that there seemed to only be a few dozen people on the Blacklisted leaderboard, I don't think it was a very successful marketing stunt. The more toothless part of the allegations here is a subplot running through the mission that Meridian, the spy organization which Julia used to work for, who are now hiring her as a freelance contractor, have a spy in their midst. As you drive between objectives, you get little bits and pieces about this spy, which, if you know anything about Barb, are clearly alluding to what Benzies and Gerhardt believe happened during development.
Any intel on the identity of your mole?
That would assume it's only one person. This is espionage on the highest level. Someone on the outside has been paying big money to spread corruption within Meridian's ranks, creating a ritual network for the vulnerable or disgruntled.
Sounds like you've got a real pest control problem.
The emphasis placed on the phrase ritual network, which makes no sense in context, is the more pointed accusation here. I left this part out of the timeline earlier because it makes more sense to talk about the accusations this DLC is making all at once. In early February of 2026, Insider Gaming posted an article saying that they had received a video of an internal meeting that took place in late January at Build a Rocket Boy, where Mark Gerhardt said they had, quote, caught the guys who've been sabotaging MindsEye. He also, quoting once again, alleged that the company behind the campaign was a very big American company, but that it's probably not the company you're thinking of. That seems to imply that it's not Take-Two, the company who publishes Grand Theft Auto, that they're accusing of sabotage, though who they are accusing remains unclear. We do know that Gerhardt is specifically accusing the UK-based company Ritual Network of being paid by the unnamed big American company to participate in a smear campaign against MindsEye. Ritual Network is a multi-channel network managing YouTubers and TikTokers. Guys, if I can offer some unsolicited advice here, Maybe get a new name that doesn't make you sound like you're going to put James Bond in some kind of death trap. Gerhard specifically accuses a YouTuber who was associated with Ritual Network called Cyberboy of being paid to harm Build a Rocket Boy. Perhaps most bizarrely, Gerhard also says they were going to put some of the people involved in this alleged smear campaign into MindsEye's Blacklisted mission. Once again, quoting from the Insider Gaming article, "Given this has happened to us, I'm gonna own this narrative. We will use these people, these names, and these facts for our own fun. We're gonna put some of these names into our upcoming spy mission. And let's have some fun with it," said Gerhard. "Let's tell the community the story before it even plays out in court. So, I think this is not us being the victim. We've taken a couple of punches, we've kept turning the other cheek while we got our house in order, and now it's time to start judoing this right back at them. And so let's have some fun with it. At the end of the day, we're storytellers. We're game makers." Turning the other cheek? Is that what we're calling it now? Nope. Gotta stay focused. Gotta move on. The Cyberboy thing. I've gotta be real careful here. In late January, Cyberboy posted a now-deleted video which supposedly mentioned that Leslie Benzies was referenced in the Epstein files. I have not seen Cyberboy's video. I'm not alleging anything. I'm just quoting other people here, like PC Gamer's Andy Chalk, who writes, "References to Leslie Benzies in the Epstein files are a matter of public record and can be found with a simple search on the US Department of Justice website." After Cyberboy's video went up, Mark Gerhard issued him a cease and desist over the MindsEye official Discord server. This read, "At Cyberboy. It is profoundly disappointing to learn that certain BARB employees continue to leak confidential information to you, thereby betraying their colleagues, our studio, and the broader community we serve. This letter, it's a Discord message, serves as a formal cease and desist demand. You must immediately stop all activities related to receiving, dissemination, or otherwise utilizing any confidential information from BARB, as well as any further involvement in media manipulation, espionage, sabotage, or interference targeting our organization. Failure to comply will result in escalated legal action. Rest assured, you and your associates involved in this media manipulation cabal will be served with legal papers imminently, as BARB proceeds with complaints alleging criminal espionage, sabotage, and interference. You are all in very serious trouble." Leslie Benzies later made a statement to Kotaku about the Epstein allegations, which reads, "These allegations are false. I had a 3 months consensual relationship with this person, and I have never met Jeffrey Epstein, nor have I ever visited his island, his properties, or traveled on his plane. Any suggestion otherwise is misleading." We do not know for a fact that the mention of the Epstein allegations were why Cyberboy's video was specifically targeted. In fact, there's some more information that I'll get to in a few minutes, which might shed more light on why they were mad at Cyberboy specifically, but that was certainly what people following the situation latched onto at the time. Cyberboy made his own video responding to the threatened legal action, where he says, quote, "Completely false. I have not been paid by any entity, individual, or company, whatever it might be, to say anything negative about MindsEye. Anything. Nothing. I've received nothing of value either to say anything negative about MindsEye." Cyberboy specifically must have really gotten under the leadership's skin, because the reason I'm mentioning all of this Cyberboy drama is because he is the other entity who was depicted in the Blacklisted mission. Cyberboy is one of those content creators who wears a silly outfit in his videos. The DJ I mentioned during the rundown of the mission, DJ Bunnyhouse, the one who, quote, "likes to drive drunk," is modeled after Cyberboy's image. It's not a very kind depiction. As far as I can tell, that's it. That's the much hyped evidence contained within Blacklisted. HQ says a Ritual Network is sabotaging Meridian, and DJ Bunnyhouse's helmet kind of looks like Cyberboy. What do you guys think? Do you believe Mark Gerhard and Leslie Benzies after seeing their damning evidence? Leave a comment down below! Actually, this is where I run the risk of saying something controversial. I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility that there was corporate espionage happening at Build a Rocket Boy. I don't think it's likely. I don't think that's why the game is bad. One of the quotes from a former staff member I read earlier is why I think the game is bad. I think the most likely scenario from the information we have publicly available is simply that the game lacked a coherent vision and clear direction from the start, and that's why the game is bad. But corporate espionage is a thing that happens sometimes, and Leslie Benzies was a very high-profile creative who worked on the biggest game of all time, so maybe someone at a rifle company wanted an insider to keep tabs on what he was up to. Who knows? I mean, it's worth pointing out, there was someone working at Build a Rocket Boy leaking the contents of internal meetings to the press. Remember, that's how we know about Leslie Benzies and Mark Gerhardt making the allegations of internal sabotage in the first place. Leaked transcripts and videos of staff meetings. It happened twice. I'm more inclined to assume that's from disgruntled employees than paid saboteurs, but it might be worth thinking about. I don't even think it's out of the realm of possibility that money changed hands for some influencers to dunk on the game. Again, I think it's very unlikely. In fact, I think it's more unlikely than corporate espionage because I don't think it was necessary, but it's not completely impossible. Stranger things have happened. But I definitely don't think it was Cyberboy, because frankly, who the hell is Cyberboy? It would be like bribing me to defame your game. I'm nobody. It would not be worth the money you spent to do it. Cyberboy has more than double my subscriber count. Good for him. That still puts him in the minor leagues of YouTube. A small fish in a very large pond. You don't need to spend money to make people insult MindsEye. People are doing that all on their own. I am both a certified hater and, quantifiably, one of the biggest MindsEye fans on planet Earth. I have all of the achievements. Let me reiterate, third highest score on Blacklisted in the world. I don't think most people should buy and play MindsEye, and I'm not being paid to say that. I'm doing it for the love of the game. We're still in the aftermath of Blacklisted's release as I write this in late May of 2026. In late April, just days after the mission was released, former animation lead Chris Wilson gave an interview with Kotaku about the toxic work environment at Build a Rocket Boy. Some of what's in this interview is already pretty obvious, confirming that Blacklisted did indeed start life as a reskin of the planned Hitman crossover DLC, but this interview also has some fascinating revelations about what's been going on at the company since January. Quoting from the Kotaku article, according to Wilson, the proof of sabotage by Cyberboy was shared with Build a Rocket Boy staff during a surprise meeting in early 2026, during which Benzies read hate mail from his personal email for 10 minutes. Benzies attributed these comments to the YouTuber, and the slur-filled emails apparently proudly admitted to sabotaging the company. Now, these emails read like League of Legends chats, said Wilson. In no way did it seem like a sophisticated multi-million-dollar plan to try to take down Build a Rocket Boy. Why didn't you put the emails in the DLC where you said you were gonna have evidence of the sabotage? Mark, why didn't you put the emails in the DLC then, Mark? Emails where Cyberboy allegedly bragged about sabotaging the company sounds like exactly the kind of evidence you would put in this insane DLC. I'm losing my mind. I can feel my sanity slipping away. One of the most interesting revelations in this article has to do with how the decision to include Ritual Network and Cyberboy in Blacklisted came about, and what the internal fallout regarding that decision may have been. Continuing to quote from the article, Wilson also stated that he believes the redundancies in February may have been influenced by an internal poll distributed to Build a Rocket Boy's staff. As he explained, several developers at the studio were apprehensive and quite vocal about MindsEye's Blacklisted update, with many not wanting to work on it due to Gerhardt's alleged comments that Build a Rocket Boy would own this narrative and use the names of Cyberboy and Ritual Network in the mission. And so, as a result of that, the company decided to put out a poll asking, like, should we remove it? Should we include it? Now, anyone I spoke to agreed that we should not include it. Then there was a follow-up poll, and it's my belief that they didn't get the results they were hoping for, that it would be unanimous, that everyone would agree to put it in the game. I do feel personally that they could have possibly used those results to influence decisions about who got let go. The surveys were not anonymous, end quote. This interview with Wilson also paints a fascinating picture of the shift in culture that happened once Mark Gerhardt became co-CEO. Quoting once again, while the last year of Build a Rocket Boy related antics paints a picture of a studio in rapid decline, I was curious if the company's earlier years, when Benzies was fully in control, were comparably mismanaged. Wilson told me that while the pre-Gerhardt years still felt somewhat unorganized, the vibes under Leslie Benzies were noticeably more positive. During the early years, Benzies even put on a barbecue for staff at his private residence in Los Angeles. "I got to know him there. Seemed like a good guy," said Wilson, "and in getting to know him through that, it made me want to be like, okay, yeah, I can understand this guy's vision, and I will do what it takes to the best of my ability to make it happen." "To be honest, I don't know who was leading," Wilson told me. "I mean, Leslie's back. Leslie's in the office." So why did Leslie Benzies, who produced the likes of Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, and Max Payne 3 during his time at Rockstar Games, decide to go into business with Gerhard in the first place? I've been thinking about it for the last couple of years since Gerhard has been involved, and I cannot figure it out, said Wilson. It seems predatory. Leslie, it's almost like he's lost his confidence and his pride at some point. Wilson claimed the company's org chart has also been redrawn to sideline Benzies. Just after it was announced that Leslie was going on his extended holiday, the entire chart moved from Leslie to Mark. He said, so Leslie's still there, but he has no one below him. Essentially, it seems like it's just a takeover. End quote. Leslie Benzies and being ousted from a company during an extended sabbatical. Name a more iconic duo. That brings us to the most recent update at the time of writing. May 6th, 2026. Build a Rocket Boy lays off another 170 people, bringing the studio to a reported 80 employees, down from around 500 this time last year. Things are not looking great for Build a Rocket Boy these days. They are still releasing updates to the game. There's been one bug fix patch since Blacklisted launched, and there's still vague promises of more episodes coming, more missions. I own a season pass for this game that is theoretically still going to release 2 more mission packs of some kind, though they are listed as coming in Q4 2025 and Q1 2026, so I have my doubts. Blacklisted was free for all players, by the way, so that's not one of those promised mission packs. Arcadia, the UGC creation tools, are still available in the game, and there's even been one major update to them to make creating racing modes easier since release. It won't surprise you to find out there's not exactly a flood of new user-generated content filling the map list, though. At the time of writing, MindsEye had a 24-hour peak player count of 18 players. There are a lot of lessons to be learned from all of this. Projects need a coherent vision and can't constantly change direction during development. New studios, no matter how prestigious and wealthy, should probably start with smaller and more manageable projects rather than immediately trying to make a Roblox killer. Don't hire people who used to be leaders at Jagex. But I think the most important lesson to learn from all of this, specifically from the accusations of sabotage and corporate espionage, which is the thing MindsEye will now permanently be associated with, even if they somehow do manage to salvage the game into something halfway decent at this point. Don't say these things out loud unless you have hard evidence. The bigger the accusations, the higher the burden of proof. Conspiracy theories, even if they are true, which I'm not convinced this one was, will always sound insane unless you have ironclad proof of what you're saying. No one needed to pay people to discredit MindsEye. Leslie Benzies and Mark Gerhard had already done that all on their own. Thank you for watching. This video is a little different from what I normally do on this channel, because I normally talk about games I think are good, but MindsEye is too insane of a story for me to look away from. If you happen to like the Hitman games, might I suggest watching some of my Hitman videos after this? There's a lengthy supercut of the first season available where I cover the story, connections, Easter eggs, and references you might have missed in the first game in the trilogy, and I've covered the first 3 missions of Hitman 2 in the second season so far. I think those videos are some of my best work, so hey, maybe check them out. If you like cyberpunk games, consider checking out a recent video I made about the original Deus Ex. I'm still actively working on a video about the sequel, Invisible War, now, so look forward to that coming in the future too. Aside from that, you know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, hype, I guess, if that does anything. You've seen a YouTube video before. But hey, even if you don't want to do any of that, really, thank you for making it to the end of the video. Special thank you to my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Aurelia14, Dookie Wave, Chaothic69, Raxarox, Unhealthy Caillou, Alex Dunn, Alan Fortes, Schmandolf the Schmay, Kirsten, Captain Swing, Davale, Lieria, Theo D, Dangerous Corpse, Gassan Abanura, Patrizia Frabetti, Sninkelberg, Tsai Voafehi, Dan Luther, Jose Armalas, William, Cabbage, Flora, Alex Smith, Pete Lee, Shiny Emptyhead, That's All, Bill Mage, and Malachi Murphy. Until next time, everyone, take care.